Hey guys, it's India. It's been a really long time. Yeah, lots have happened within these couple of months. Honestly, before recording, I almost teared up just thinking about how different I looked before and after. Um, the last video compared to this one. Yeah, as you can see, I cut my hair. I have dyed it a couple of times, but I'm pretty sure it was probably around the same looking color. However, this is different. Anyways, besides the point. Honestly, I've been wanting to make a video, but every time I think about making a video, I'm like, what do I say? Like, how do I turn this into an inspiring moment or even a moment where it seems like it's beneficial? I think I'm just gonna stick to what I originally planned out for these type of videos, which was to just be honest, be transparent, and kind of invite you guys on the journey with me. Update. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it yet, but I am now the youth president at my church. And I tell you what, when the pastor mentioned that like things are gonna happen and for me to kind of like buckle in and just be prepared that it's not gonna be an easy type of ride, I knew automatically, like I knew beforehand that it was gonna be a rough year, considering like the step I took in November. But once he asked me and like we talked about the position and whatnot, like I already knew that it was gonna be a rough road. But I will say there was no like pause. Like it was immediate. Um the things that I was experiencing and like just my emotions, and I think I knew what would like how intense the next year coming would be, but I guess I couldn't really, I didn't think it was gonna be, I guess, so quick that like problems would start happening. I didn't think that like literally same day they announced it, like not even 5 seconds within them announcing it, it was like immediate things that happened that just made me feel very, very low. Instantaneous, pretty much instantly, was like you can feel like some of the negativity, no matter who is it from, that part doesn't matter, but like I felt like that doubt, that negativity, like from others, and then I started feeling it and experiencing it like intensely, like from myself. I was like, oh, they're not happy. You could tell that, like they're upset with the decision, or that like they don't agree with the decision, so like maybe I'm not the right fit, maybe I'm not this and maybe I'm not that. So I just started doubting myself. And there's one thing about me that I don't want to change, and it's that regardless of my position, regardless of where I am, where God allows me to be, I think that I want to stay true to the one thing that I do know about myself, is that I like being transparent. I don't like pretending. Uh, um, I don't like to pretend that I don't feel something. I feel like most of my life I've hidden the way I felt, the thing, like how intense my experience was, and I feel like it's so disingenuous if I just continue and I tried this new phase of my life and I'm like, oh, let me just be strong and be act like I have it all together. I don't think that that's what God called me, or who God called me to be. I believe that the fact that I am so honest about how I feel and the things I go through, I think that that's something that God will use. So I think that's just what I'm going to continue to do until God tells me that this is not what he wants. But yeah, I started feeling just a lot of negativity for a solid month. And then I just started getting angry and I started, feeling attacked, kind of like, so that just like threw me off. And yeah, time went on after that. And then within these past couple of weeks, Honestly, for a while, but specifically intensely within these past couple weeks, I've been feeling so much anxiety, and not even about the position, just like mentally, emotionally, the things that I've been going through. I have experienced like intense anxiety. I've really been questioning just myself, you know? Um, I said it from the beginning. I'm gonna stand like very firm on it. I believe that mental health is a big part of, what I'm supposed to be talking about and, expressing throughout my journey, because that's just part of my life. Like I've always said, since I was young, I've dealt with it. I've been experiencing, stuff alongside of it. I started my therapy journey last year, or I guess November 2024, but I actually like was doing therapy consistently last year. And I stopped in August. Not because I wanted to, mainly because I started my new job as a teacher assistant, and life just got busy. And then after a while, I was just like, oh, I can handle it. Don't worry. I don't need to worry so much about it. And I kind of just like let loose. And yeah, I realized recently I can't handle it. I need an outlet that I can go to and like talk things out and process my emotions. And you know what? That is okay. It doesn't make you a bad Christian. It doesn't mean that you're not doing good just because you need therapy or because you need things in place to help you go through what you go through. Within the last like 2 months, my hair started to fall out, and just the stress really got to me from work, from home life, from, spiritual life even. And my hair on one side, it was like super short, and on the other side, it was like long. And as I was doing my hair, I noticed like lots of my hair was missing. And I was so confused. I was like, when did this happen? Like, what's going on here? And yeah, I lost it a little bit when I was doing my hair. And last weekend, I think I made the decision to cut my hair. It was either last weekend or no, yeah, last weekend. I was like, I'm just gonna cut my hair because it's a mess right now. And I got super emotional. And because my whole thing was I was trying to grow out my hair. I really, really, my goal is to have super long hair, but I can't seem to make it past like shoulder blade. I think every time that happens, I either decide to chop my hair, or something happens to my hair where I need to like cut it off. Um, so yeah, I decided to chop my hair. I was emotional through that. I mean, that's one of the things I have been struggling with recently is like, I've always struggled with it, but it's been hitting me very hard this year is self-image. I think I just depended a lot on my hair for that. I liked the fact that it was long. I think I was able to hide more behind my hair, and now I can't do that. Now I feel like I don't know. I don't have a groove with my hair yet. So that's one part. Second part is I definitely feel that I am like losing sense of stability when it comes to my spiritual life. I desire so deeply to like dive more deeply into my relationship with God, and be this on fire person and be what everybody expects me to be. And how can I be a good leader if I'm not a good Christian in the, secrecy of my home? How can I pray for somebody else if I can't even pray for myself? How can I know that there's people already judging me from the beginning. I know that there's people that already don't think of me in that sort of light. So like how like I need to go out there and I need to show them that like, yeah, God called me and I am right for this and this and that, but I also at the same rate don't feel it. You know? I don't feel I'm good enough. I don't feel like, you know, I am spiritual enough. And I have a lot of thoughts that like weigh down on me. And it's been a very tough struggle. I've never felt more alone than I do this year. And it is only March. Like, what? um yeah, loneliness was something that came like a strong wave. And I've always, I think, felt like a little lonely, but I don't know, I feel like it's just highlighted this year of how lonely I am, or how when the time comes to it, I don't really have anybody that I can like turn to without a problem. I've just felt very out of place. I haven't felt like honestly, even at work, I just feel like I'm there sometimes. And it's been really hard at work. And I mean, a big other thing that God has definitely been working on, that I know that He's been working on, because it's been like I've been like thrown in the field to work on this problem, is my anger. So I'm very defensive. I'm very protective over people I care about. So at work, it's just been so intense. And we hear I hear whisperings and all that stuff. Like I've had the opportunity, honestly, to have a substitute come in, and she happened to be Christian as well. And I talked to her same day, like the first day she came in, me and her, like I kind of was dropping hints that, I was a Christian, just to see what she would say. And she, God allowed a conversation to continue. And she told me, like, she's going to be praying for me, and like that God definitely opened the door for her to be there, and for me and her to kind of, meet, and that, God's in control. And, God showed up for me. And it's like I mentioned in another video, you have to count those small moments, because God does show up for you every day. You just have to slow yourself down to kind of see it and appreciate it. Um, like I opened up a little bit to her about some of my life, and God spoke to, in different areas that I was expressing to her about. And I want to say these past like 3 weeks, maybe a little bit more, honestly, because it's been since January 1st, probably before that, but like it's been since New Year's rang. I've been getting hit left, right, like nonstop. I've just been feeling very heavy minded. I've been feeling very low. I've been feeling like drowning, like suffocated, and I definitely lost sense in myself and my purpose for this year. And one thing that I wanted so badly was for this year to be, God led, God focused, God centered, everything God, God, God. I wanted my relationship to get stronger, but I feel like now, like everything is just hard. And I mean, that's what happens though. When you say you want to get closer to God, when you're making all these decisions and you're trying your best to kind of put forth this effort to do God's ministry, to be who God called you to be, right? And everybody has this image of who I'm supposed to be, and I hear it all the time, and I always get critiqued that I come to an understanding that like I don't know who this girl is. This girl's talking in this video. I don't know her. I don't know who I am. And I am so desperately trying to find it, but also I'm trying to find who this person is while everybody else is criticizing and giving their input on who I should be, or who I am, or who I'm supposed to be, or how I'm supposed to act, how I'm supposed to look. And it has been chaotic. At a certain point this year, I just stopped trying to make sense of it, and I kind of just like have been going through the motions. And every now and then I start thinking like, oh, like, let me do a little bit better, let me do this, let me do that. But I just kind of fall back into the silence of things. I have been wanting to be a youth president since I can remember. Like, I absolutely have like such a big passion for the youth. I want to help. I want to do all these things. The pastors obviously supported some people at church. But I think the negativity has been so loud that it kind of clouds, the support that you do get. And just like when you don't feel accepted or, embraced, and you do have those struggles, it kind of makes everything just like hard. I know people want me to do better and they want me to be this on fire person, but like I have so much navigating to do that I literally am doing the best I can. I love God. I do. I want to be so infatuated or in love with, they say all the time, like, God, let me like fall back in love with you, your first love and whatnot. But I think that I struggle with the idea of love in general. I don't want to end this year being the same person that like entered into it. And I feel like, yes, I'm a lot better than I was last year or the year before, but I'm still not where I know I need to be. And I just feel like I'm struggling so hard to progress. Because when you're trying to do all these good things and sometimes you feel like all that people point out are all the negatives. Oh, you could be doing this more. You could be, I think because I critique myself so much already, when I do have that added critique, surrounding me, it makes me feel like, how can I focus on anything other than negativity, you know? Yeah. I definitely feel like a little lost puppy. um I so desperately want to be used, and I want to be such a good example. I want to be, I want to be impactful and useful. But like, it's hard. It's hard when you look at yourself, or when you live with the person that you want to be useful. Like, you live within yourself and you don't see what everybody else says that they see. You don't see who God says, you are. And when I pray, I try to tell God, like, I don't want to doubt you, and I don't want to doubt like who you called. You said I was this, and I'm not trying to doubt that. But like, how can I see that when even others, like, when they point out, like, that's all I see. I see their critiques. I see, but she's not good enough. But like, why couldn't we choose who can go in that position? Like, why, like, basically, why her, And people don't understand, like, even if you don't mean something in a way to attack a person, that's why you have to be careful with what you say and how you say it. And because you don't know what somebody else is struggling with, you don't know what they're going through, and you don't know how what you say can affect them. And that's why I'm trying to be so careful with how I talk. And when I'm triggered or when I am in my high emotions, I try my best to be careful, because you don't know what people are going through. You don't know if what you say can like set them off. I tell God, like, what is it about me that like you have chased like time and time again? What is it about me that you won't let go of? Because like I've ran from God like so many times, and he still keeps coming after me. He still loves me, and he's still like telling me like, no, it's me, I chose you. And I'm like, why? Like, all I see sometimes is, or all I feel is like brokenness, you know? Because like, I don't pray enough. I'm not into the Bible enough, but like, I want a good relationship with God. I want to be useful. I want God to use me, and I want to get to heaven, and I don't want anybody to, lose their soul, lose their life. Like, I want to be good. I want to be good enough. But sometimes, or most of the time, honestly, I just feel weak. I feel like a mistake. Maybe it was how can I get past this? Like, how do I move on? Like, how do I move past this? How do I, because you hear like stories or testimonies of people saying like, oh yeah, when I was in a position, I like there was times where I didn't even feel like being at church. I didn't feel like praying for somebody else, but I still had to do it because but people didn't realize how much I was like dying inside. And it's like I finally can connect to that. I already could connect to that as somebody who just sits in the bench, where it was like I'm dying and people don't see me, but also I'm just another person filling up a seat. But now it's like I'm dying, I am hurting, and I'm like not here. And maybe people see it, but I feel like invisible most of the time. You know, it's just been really hard. I feel out of it. I feel zoned out. I don't feel understood. I feel worthless. I feel just exhausted. And I want more than anything, like I said, God called me from God calls each and every one of us once we are sent into the womb, and once life is happening, we all have a purpose, and we are meant to live that purpose. We are meant to live the life that God called us to live. And I'm just still trying to come to grasp with like me and my purpose. How is this girl supposed to be that? And I don't know how to mesh those two together. I don't know how those two worlds are going to collide. Because maybe God called me to be this person, but because of everything I've done, everything I've lived through, I'm not worthy to be that person, or I can't be that person because I'm too imperfect. Like, I'm not perfect enough. I have too many flaws. And honestly, it gets very overwhelming. At the end of the day, all these things that are happening, I know it's just things that the enemy puts in our lives to make the negativity so loud that we can't hear God's like voice. We can't hear his truth, ringing in our ear. And although I can't hear it right now, although there's things like there's times where sometimes I just think like to like revert back to my old coping skills and my old ways. I have to listen better, and I have to focus more. And I know that despite all this negativity, I feel despite all this loneliness, you know, this path with walking with God isn't easy, and the journey with God, sometimes it's a lonely one. Sometimes you're not going to get that support that you think you will have. Maybe just one person was there alongside of you going through it, it would be better. But sometimes you don't get that just one person. Sometimes it's like you solely need to depend on God. And maybe I haven't hit that spot where I'm solely depending on him. And maybe, a lot of maybes. But if there's one thing that I know for sure, is that despite all these emotions that I'm feeling, despite all the emotions that others may be feeling, that they're not good enough, they're not worthy enough, or they don't get supported enough, or Instead of hearing like, hey, you did this good, you hear like, oh, you could have done this better, or oh, you should have done more, this. You hear a lot of critique. I think that at the end of the day, one thing that I'm trying to remember, that I hope that you guys remember at the end of this video, is that God still loves us. And even if we feel like it's a mistake, even if others think it's a mistake, God did call us, and God chooses us. God chooses each and every single one of us for a purpose. He chose us, and he places us in a place with purpose, and he's intentional with every single thing that he does. God doesn't do anything for no reason. And even though I am still finding, and I'm still trying to figure out some answers myself, and even maybe you're still trying to figure out answers like, God, why me? And but others could have done it better, whatever the case may be. God chose you. You can try to wrestle with the idea of like, why does he love me so much? Why me? But at the end of the day, he still chose you. He still chose me. And he doesn't make mistakes. Even if I feel like a mistake, even if you may feel like a mistake, you aren't and I'm not. Our ministries are made with purpose, and we need to care, and we need to not treasure, but we need to guard our ministry and guard our testimony. And we do need to be careful, and we do need to watch over ourselves. I need to, and those of you guys who struggle or are struggling with the same thing, that have a hard time with loving themselves and being positive with themselves, we definitely need to ask God to kind of open up our hearts and help us, heal us, and help us love ourselves, and have that love of God, love of Christ that that we're supposed to have. Just like I'm trying my best to pray for myself, I am also gonna pray for you guys, and I definitely care. So if anybody needs to reach out and needs somebody to talk to, needs somebody to listen, needs somebody that's not gonna judge you, that is gonna listen and be here in any way that I can, I absolutely will. And yeah, you are loved. I am loved. You are chosen. You have purpose, and you are not a mistake. Whether other people don't agree with it or not, I am going to be transparent, and I am going to be honest about my emotions. I am the type of person that wears her emotions on her sleeves, and people don't agree with that person, but I feel like that's part of me, and I am not going to try to be shamed into thinking that it's not okay to share your emotions, and it's not okay to show how you feel. And you know what? If you are struggling, you're not a bad Christian. You're not weak. You're not anything. You're human. God created us with emotions. And although we do have to be careful with how we show that emotion, we also shouldn't have to hide and act like a robot. I'm going to continue to be transparent. I'm going to continue to be honest and be able to process that out loud, or, be able to show that doesn't make me any less than the other person, and that doesn't make you any less than anybody else. Yeah, God still chose us. God knew how we were going to turn out. God knows everything. God knows the mistakes we are going to make. He knows how many times we're going to fail. He knows when we're not going to listen. He knows when we're going to be obedient. He knows everything. So he didn't make a mistake, and he never will. Yeah, I hope me and you guys remember that. We're chosen, we're loved, we're not a mistake, and we have purpose. Thank you guys again for getting through this video, and until next time.